The Lord of the Rings franchise is still going super strong. The main area that they have been doing well in over the past 10 or so years is the video game sphere, from the Mordor games to the recently announced Gollum title. Now, a new game has been announced, and we are going to talk about that one today. So, let's dive right on in. First up, we have a new Lord of the Rings mobile game in development at EA. We have had so many Lord of the Rings games titles over the past 10 years or so. Some have been fantastic, and others have been a little lackluster. Today, we have been blessed with a new Lord of the Rings game coming from EA. This new game is set to be a mobile game in partnership between EA and Middle-earth Enterprises. The game has been titled Lord of the Rings: Heroes of Middle-earth. From what we know already, the game is going to be an RPG or role-playing game with a fun turn-based combat system akin to something like Pokemon or Final Fantasy. While the roster hasn't been announced just yet, we do know that the game should have many of your favorite characters and many others. The game is also going to take the player through an incredible story that goes through some of the most important and iconic stories from the books and the films. We are thrilled to be working with EA once again, this time to bring a mobile game solely inspired by Middle-earth as described in the literary works of J.R.R. Tolkien to its fans, said Fredrika Drotos, Chief Brand and Licensing Officer for Middle-earth Enterprises. This is not the first EA Lord of the Rings game, as it's far from it. EA produced a few games back in the early 2000s, and most recently, the Middle-earth Shadow of Mordor and War games. These games were created by Monolith Productions, but housed in EA. These games are some of the best Lord of the Rings games in a long time. You should definitely check them out if you are at all interested in the franchise or in gaming. This newly announced game has been revealed to be a free-to-play, which means that you will probably be paying money for characters and costumes, but that isn't all bad. Let us know down in the comment section below how you feel about this new game and the future of the Lord of the Rings gaming sphere. Now, onto some other gaming news. Next up, we have Ubisoft shuts down online services for 90 older games. Multiplayer servers are something every game nowadays has in some shape or form, from inbuilt forums to online combat between players. Some single-player games have multiple aspects or modes that need these online servers to keep going. As we move further into the future of gaming, older games are slowly losing their online servers as it's too expensive for the respective company to keep running at full force. Recently, Ubisoft decided to shut down some of its older game servers to make room for future projects and to make their current games even better than they already are. Their original game online servers were named Ubisoft Connect Services, and games that used this are being shut down for cost. These games are still available to play and receive awards, but you cannot receive them in-game. Nowadays, games are on Uplay, so these older rewards can't be used on anything now. Some of the affected games are Assassin's Creed 2, Beyond Good and Evil, Far Cry 2 PC, Far Cry Blood Dragon, Ghost Recon PC, Heroes of Might and Magic 5, various Just Dance titles, Prince of Persia, The Forgotten Sands, some older Rabbids and Rainbow Six titles, Rayman 3 HD, Rayman Legends PC, and many others. All of these titles are old and not played online by many at this point anyways. Many of these games are for the PS2, PS3, PSP, Wii, Wii U, and Xbox 360. Whilst it's sad to see their online connectivity removed, these games are still playable in every other aspect, so it's not the end of the world. Next, the top RPG games that you need to play. Persona 5 Royale is the re-release of the game Persona 5, but with some new features and some new story content. This game is well regarded as near perfect, or at least just outstanding. The game has you take control over the protagonist, Joker, and collect personas on your journey to defeat the enemies in the game. It is a Pokemon-like system, and you need to collect them all to get even better personas. This game has an amazing story with some awesome characters. It's overall just amazing, and you should really play this game when you can. Persona 5 Royale is just a perfect game, and any RPG fan should play it at least once. This next game is pretty different to what we have had on the list so far. The very popular Stardew Valley is a farming and life simulator game. You can create your own character, and you get to tend your own farm. You live with a bunch of villagers and get to make bonds and connections with them. It's a really interesting game and has some amazing elements. There's also a really cool dungeon crawling part of the game as well, which shakes up the farming simulator style of RPG. This game is really good for a chill and vibe out sort of time, especially for those who love farming simulators or village games like Animal Crossing. Check out Stardew Valley, it's pretty cheap on Steam and all platforms. Genshin Impact is a relatively new anime RPG game with some loot box style mechanics to it. The game is free, but with lots of microtransactions, which on paper sounds really bad, but with what you get for free, this game is still outstanding. It's got a great story with some interesting characters and gameplay mechanics. It's a really simple game, but with some really hard mechanics if you want to take the time to get used to them. If you want to sink some money into Genshin Impact, you can roll for characters and weapons to increase the size and strength of your arsenal. Overall, Genshin is just a great game to try out for RPG fans. The world of video games has been really great over the past decade or so, and especially with the RPG genre. Obviously, there are many more games that we didn't get to put on this list, so please let us know down below what other games you want us to cover. We are being spoiled rotten in this next year, as the releases set to happen are some of the biggest in a while. More RPG games are being released, and with the launch of a Witcher 3 port onto the next generation of consoles, things are looking up. Now that we have the PS5 and the Xbox Series X out in the world, there are going to be way more amazing games coming soon and being announced soon. The new gaming generation has just started and should last for another few years before the next consoles launch. This generation is yet again the highest powered one, as the consoles are on par with PC gaming for the first time ever. The next few years are going to be amazing for RPGs, as it's become one of the most important and popular genres for gaming. In every conference or presentation from a gaming company, some sort of RPG game is announced. The great thing about this genre is that it's so vague that so many games fit under its wing. There are so many variations of the genre that any game could really fit into its style and suit a different gamer. And finally we have is a Borderlands 2 remake around the corner. 2022 marks the 10th anniversary of Borderlands 2, and fans are begging Gearbox for a remaster or a remake of some sort. Whilst Borderlands 2 is considered the best game in the franchise and almost perfect, the fan base wants some changes. Borderlands 3 and even Borderlands the prequel introduced some really game-changing mechanics that fans want to be included in Borderlands 2. They also want some generic changes to enemies and drops. This has been added to the game in the form of mods from the fan base, but nothing in an official capacity. Fans are wanting a remake of Borderlands 2, and it makes a lot of sense to re-release one this year, being the 10th anniversary of this amazing game. We have had no word from Gearbox, but with the Borderlands movie coming out soon, it's a huge year for the franchise. They would be dumb not to put out a remake or even a remaster of this phenomenal game. What do you think about all this? Let us know in the comments down below. Borderlands deserves something new this year at least. And that's the end of today's video. Hopefully you enjoyed this latest video. If you did, would you please let us know in the comment section down below? It would be very helpful. Make sure to like this video, comment down below, and of course subscribe to the channel with the notification bell rung. Thank you for watching today's video. Bye!